Pakistan says it is open to a neutral investigation into Tuesday's deadly attack on tourists in Indian-administered Kashmir. It says it was not involved in the massacre, which touched off new military tensions between the nuclear-armed neighbours. Troops from both India and Pakistan exchanged fire along the border for another night.
Indian soldiers stand guard at a checkpoint in Kashmir as tensions are rising. The disputed region remains one of the most highly militarized areas in the world. Following an attack on tourists that left at least 26 people dead, India and Pakistan have been drawn into a dangerous escalation spiral. On both sides of the Attari-Wagah border crossing, emotions are running high. India revoked all visas issued to Pakistani nationals, with Islamabad responding in kind. Now, Pakistanis and Indians with ties on both sides find their families being ripped apart. I'm Indian and I love my country. I love India, but my family is here. And it's not as if I hate Pakistan. I love Pakistan too. The politics and decisions made at higher levels, we want no part in that. Despite my daughters being Pakistani nationals, why am I not allowed to enter Pakistan? What have I done? How will my daughters live without me? No government separates children from their mothers. India suspended the Indus Water Treaty, which regulates the use of water that flows through Indian-controlled territory into Pakistan. Over 80% of Pakistan's agriculture relies on this water. Visiting a military academy, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif said Pakistan's armed forces are prepared to defend their country's sovereignty.
Our eastern neighbor continues a pattern of exploitation, leveling baseless allegations and false accusations without credible investigation or verifiable evidence. The recent tragedy in Pahalgam is yet another example of this perpetual blame game, which must come to a grinding halt. And now, continuing with its role as a responsible country, Pakistan is open to participate in any neutral, transparent, and credible investigation.
As India and Pakistan stand on the brink of war, the United Nations has urged both neighbors to show maximum restraint.
Mehreen Zahra-Malik is Pakistan editor at Arab News in Islamabad. Another night of exchanges of fire. How close is this diplomatic spat now to turning into conflict?
Right. Thank you, Ben, for having me. I think, as we can all see, relations have plunged to their lowest level for years, at least since 2019. There's no doubt about that. As you mentioned, they're exchanging gunfire for the second straight day. They've announced a flurry of punitive measures against each other. And I think one of the signs of how sharply tensions have risen is that India has vowed, as you mentioned, to disrupt the flow of a major river system into Pakistan, right? This is the 1960 Indus Waters Treaty. Now, this treaty is widely seen as one of the most resilient water sharing agreements in the world, right? It's survived multiple wars and conflicts between India and Pakistan, decades of hostility. This is a step India has not even taken during the two wars that the two nations have fought over Kashmir. So, of course, there is fear that India is looking at escalation. And I think Modi, of course, needs to calm an angry public, right? The attack in Kashmir took place during J.D. Vance's visit. It was highly embarrassing for Modi and his BJP party, which has, of course, been boasting since 2019 about the success of their security policies in Kashmir. So there's definitely public sentiment to look at, which could push to taking some additional steps. But I think the next 7 to 10 days are key. And most experts at this point and officials as well that I'm speaking to at this side are agreed that Modi will likely choose a more surgical option, so something like limited airstrikes or maybe special forces raids close to the border with Pakistan, because those would tackle the public anger while at the same time reduce the risk of an embarrassing mishap, such as the one that happened in 2019 when Pakistan shot down an Indian plane and captured the pilot, right? So I think this is definitely the lowest that things have been in a long time. And, it's a wait and watch kind of game at this point.
But in this case, who's actually behind the attack? I know both governments are cooperating with the investigation into the tourist attack, but what do we know so far about who was behind it?
Well, of course, India is blaming Pakistan, right? I mean, just today, the Pakistani Prime Minister has said that Pakistan is open to taking part in a transparent and credible investigation. And I believe the Defense Minister, Khwaja Asif, he said that we're even ready for a joint investigation. But there's barely any diplomatic channels between the two countries. Diplomatic relations were already very weak even before we went into this latest crisis, right? Pakistan expelled its ambassador in 2019 and, India hasn't posted its own ambassador. So there's no real relationship. There's absolutely no trust. So where do you begin with any kind of investigation or collaboration? We don't have any joint investigation mechanisms or commissions that I'm aware of. And at this point, I think there's a lot of finger pointing by India, a lot of rhetoric, right? Where's the evidence? What is the evidence? Who was involved? Yeah. Do we have a list of names of planners or handlers that India says are in Pakistan? So, for example, after the Mumbai attacks, we got a list of 20 fugitives, including Masood Azhar and Dawood Ibrahim, etc. But we barely have anything to start with right now. So I think we can start talking about an investigation once we have some evidence, once we have more information. And I don't think we have very much right now.
India and Pakistan have gone to war before over Kashmir. Why is it so contentious?
Well, I mean, the dispute is, as old as Pakistan itself, right? When the partition plan was made up, Kashmir wanted to become independent, but then chose to join India. And then there was a war erupted. So, the first war between Pakistan and India was over Kashmir. And then, there was a United Nations intervention for a plebiscite to settle the question of whether the state would join India or Pakistan. Since then, the two countries have not been able to agree on that question. And so it was divided into two, and it's a conflict that's 70, 80 years old, and so it's kind of deeply sensitive for both countries, and so it goes on. And I think that apprehensions have kind of just gotten worse since 2019, when the Indian-administered Kashmir always had a special position within the country. Under Article 370, it had its own constitution, a separate flag, independence on all matters except foreign affairs, defense, I think. So, it had some kind of significant autonomy, but that was revoked by Modi in 2019. So apprehensions have just been worse since then, and it's become an even more sensitive.
We'll have to leave it there. Journalist Mehreen Zahra-Malik from Islamabad. Thank you very much for the analysis. It's been great talking to you.